So my one thing today comes from the end of this chapter, and it's reflecting on James 1 verses 22 to 25. If you are a Christian listening to this today, it is highly likely, well I hope it's likely, that you have heard a lot of good and helpful messages through the years on a Sunday, at conferences, and that's without our own personal devotional reading time. But my question today is, what do we actually do with all of that information? All of those preachers, all of those sermons, all of those devotionals. What do we do with all that we read, all that we consume that God provides us? Think about all the hours of teaching, instruction, godly counsel that we have received over the years. Now think about how much you have actually applied. Unknowingly, I think we can fool ourselves sometimes into thinking that the more we know, the more that we read, the more that we listen to, that actually pleases God. When in fact, although it's enjoyable to be more assured in your faith, it's actually of little good to anybody else if we don't seek an application for what we learn. It's obvious when we reflect today that reading the Word is not the same as doing the Word. And knowing what is required of us in worship is not the same as doing what is required of us in worship. Shouting amen to something that ministers to you in a service is of little use if you go home the same way that you came and you keep that message in the back pocket of your life. And agreeing that prayer works is great, but it is of little consequence if we don't pray for and with others. Today's one thing encourages us all to take a good, long, hard look at ourselves in the mirror. Is what you see when you look in the mirror a reflection of someone who has listened, someone who has learned, and has subsequently become effective for the gospel? The sad truth is, the Christian church is on the decline, not the ascendancy. And of those of us who are left, how many are turning up for coffee and cake and a good message to tickle the ears, forgetting that the Word of God is supposed to change the way that we look, the way that we respond, and the way that we live our lives? When you look in the mirror next, remind yourself of who you are and whose you are, and ask God to help you live out what you should be doing. That if you want to be blessed by God, then you need to put into practice what you learn from God. And when the time comes, when He looks in our mirrors, I hope and I pray that we will all be recognizable to Him. That's my one thing today. What's yours?